All right. So vocabulary. We've got x-intercepts, zeros, and roots. Those are all three words that mean the exact same thing. If we've got a coordinate plane like this, and we've got some kind of parabola on it, the x-intercepts, the roots, and the zeros are where the graph connects to that x-axis. Morgan, we good? Sweet, no worries. So I'm on page 30, lesson 5. Do they match? Are they the same? Page 30, slide 30. So x-intercepts, zeros, and roots. All three of those words are synonyms. They mean the exact same thing where the parabola, where the line crosses the x-axis, okay? So don't be confused with changing vocabulary. How would we factor this equation? How do I get x plus 3 and x minus 4? What do I have to do? It's the question I ask. Absolutely. So first step is find the greatest common factor. Is there a greatest common factor if I have coefficients of 1? Is there a greatest common factor? There is not. So then how do I factor it? What question do I ask myself with the 12 and the 1? So 1 times negative 12 goes to the top. What multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1? The first and the last, A times B, or A times C, my bad, and then B down here. So what multiplies to negative 12 and adds up to negative 1? What multiplies to negative 12 and adds to negative 1? Absolutely. 3 and negative 4. So when we put them back together, we get x plus 3 and x minus 4, right? So my question is, why is this positive and this is negative? That intercept is negative 3, and this intercept is positive 4. What did we learn in geometry that kind of does that same thing? Where the equation and the ordered pair was opposite. Maybe. What about circles? When we graph circles, what was the relationship between the equation and the points? Were the signs opposite? Signs opposite? I think they were, right? So the reason for that is when you solve this, you get a negative 3. Negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. What I'm really looking for is this answer here. So negative 3 plus 3 equals 0. That's why this answer is a negative. And positive 4 minus 4 makes 0. That's why this is a positive. Because I'm looking for what makes this whole parentheses 0. Okay? So you want to just remember that when you get your factors, it's the opposite over here. Yeah, we're just playing musical chairs, Sam. You just have to find one. Okay? Nothing really to do on this page, but here we've got to fill in some blanks. So again, how do I factor this? What question do I ask myself? What multiplies to what and adds to what? Multiplies to negative 10 and adds up to negative 3. So what multiplies to negative 10 and adds up to negative 3? Definitely 2 and 5. Which one is negative if I want to end up with 3 negatives? The 5. So the 5 and the sum have to have the same sign. So when I put these into my equation, I get x plus 2 and x minus 5. But when I'm looking for the intercepts, do I use that same sign or do I use the opposite sign? Negate it. So they're going to be the opposite sign because really I'm looking for x. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. So positive 5 is going to make it 0. You're looking for what makes these parentheses 0. and that's your intercepts. What's another word for intercepts? Zeros. So the factors are x plus 2, that's a factor, and x minus 5, that's a factor. But the intercepts were negative 2 and 5, and the zeros are negative 2 and 5 because you had to negate it. Okay? So the whole idea is this is that you do enough so you kind of, it looks familiar to you next year. Yeah, I'll put these in the boxes because your final 2 grades potentially are this notebook and the IXLs that are double A's. I heard it playing, I just didn't know it was Westbrook, right? All right. On lesson 33, there's a video in case my explanation was not good enough. I did not link the extra practice, but down in the notes, if you want extra practice, you can go to quizzes and take a quiz. I just feel like this is a little extra for the last 2 weeks of school. Schoology discussion post. Yeah, we're not doing that either. So let's go to lesson 6. We're going to do 6 problems here just to make sure we know what to do. So I'm on page 36. We're just fast forwarding through this. We already talked about the zero property a little bit, but let's read it. If the product, that means multiply, of 2 quantities equals 0, then at least one of those quantities has to equal 0, right? So 0 is like the trump card. If you multiply 27 numbers together and then you multiply by a 0, everything zeroes out, right? So when we want to find these intercepts, we want to solve, if these are our 2 factors, we're going to set them both equal to 0 and then solve them like little equations. When they're just one-step equations, it's super easy. You just do the opposite, right? That negative 4 turns into a positive 4. Okay. So let's see what that actually looks like in real life. If I have this equation, first thing I want to do is get everything equal to 0. So I've got to subtract the x over to the left side. I've got to subtract the 12 over to the x side because you need your equation equal to 0. Once you do that, you factor it. This is the same equation we just factored. So we already know that it ends up with x plus 3 and x minus 4 because we did our x puzzle and we did what multiplies to negative 12 and adds up to negative 1. Then you're going to set each factor equal. So I took this x plus 3 and made it equal to 0, and I took the x minus 4 and made it equal to 0, and you just solve. So we did that too. We asked ourselves, what will make this 0? And the answer is negative 3. What will make this 0? And the answer was positive 4. Those are the roots, right? So a factor of x plus 3 is at negative 3, and a factor of x minus 4 is at positive 4. You guys remember this from algebra? Kind of, sort of, maybe? Okay. There's another video here if my description is too fast, incomplete, whatever. Mason, you good over there? Okay. Let's do these 6 problems and we'll be done for the day. So how do I do number 1? I got to factor it. What question do I ask myself? Corinne, we good? So what multiplies to 18 and adds up to negative 9? What's the answer to that? What multiplies to 18 and adds up to negative 9? 9 and 2 is going to give me 11. 6 and 3. Which one's negative? So if I have a negative 9, the bigger factor has to have the same sign, right? So if I have a negative 9, the bigger factor has to be the same sign. And then in order for this to be positive, they both have to be negative. Negative times a negative is a positive, and negative plus another negative is just a bigger negative. So when we put this all back together, we've got x squared, minus 6x, that's a minus, not a plus. And then minus 3x plus 18 equals 0. So what can I just undistribute? What can I take out of x squared and 6x? X. And then I get x minus 6. And what can I take out of the minus 3x plus 18? So I'm left with an x minus 6. What kind of 3? Negative 3, absolutely. Then we put all that back together and we get x minus 3 and x minus 6 equals 0. So what are our roots? What are our solutions? We're going to take this part. This is the new part for today. Take that x minus 3, x minus 3 equals 0. If x minus 3 equals 0, what's x equal? Yeah, 3. And x minus 6 equals 0. What's x equal? 6. Those are our answers. Okay. So what we're trying to do is make them equal to 0. We want to know what will make that factor equal 0. So when it's a one-step equation like this, you just switch the sign. So if it was x plus 3, it would be a minus 3. If it was x plus 6, it'll be a minus 6. And we'll see that. We'll see that actually in this one. So do we remember how to factor the ones that don't have a b term and are perfect squares? What's our shortcut for difference of squares so we don't have to do this whole process? So the square root of 64 is 8. And n minus 8 equals 0. So that's our little shortcut. Just take the square root of both, right? First factor has a plus, second factor has a minus. So then if we do n plus 8 equals 0, what's n equal? Negative 8. And if we do n minus 8 equals 0, then we get n equals positive 8. And those are our two solutions. If I was going to sketch my graph, I would find negative 8 and positive 8, and my parabola goes like that. They always look like U's. So if you have an equation that's in the form ax squared plus bx plus c, it's always facing up. It always looks like a U. Okay. Number 5 kicks it up a notch, for real. What do I do with number 5? We could do 3 times 35 and put that in the top of our X puzzle. Is there a greatest common factor here? Can I divide anything out? I don't know, 22 divided by 3, does that work? It doesn't. So I think you are 100% right. We've got to do that multiplication. So 35 times 3 is what? Anybody? 35 times 3? 70, is that 105? So we've got what multiplies to 105 and adds up to 22. This is a ginormous number. So we're going to have to actually write down the factors, I think. So if I do 1 and 105, can I divide 105 by 2? Can I divide it by 3? Do you guys know the divisible by 3 rule? If you add up all of the numbers, all of like the digits, so 1 plus 0 plus 5 is 6. 6 is divisible by 3, so 105 is divisible by 3. I know, it's mind-blowing, right? If you do 3 plus 5, that's 8. 35 is not divisible by 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 22 is not divisible by 3. So what is 105 divided by 3? 35, right? And it's divisible by 5, but not by 4. So what's 105 divided by 5? 21. So we're looking for something that's 22 apart. We're not there yet. Try 105 divided by 6. So if it's a decimal, it doesn't work. What's 105 divided by 7? 15. Can 7 and 15 make 22? So when you have crazy numbers that you're trying to factor, right, I just go down the list and see what the factors are. Once you find something that makes your bottom number, your sum, then you're good to go. So now we've got 35n squared plus what? (7n). Remember, these become my middle pieces. That replaces this 22. And then 15n plus 3. And now I've got to take out my greatest common factors. What's my greatest common factor in 35n squared? 7n. So if I take out the 7n, what do I end up with? 5n plus 1. Absolutely, bless you. And what can I remove from the 15n plus 3? 3. And what am I left with? 5n plus 1. Let's see if I can erase some of this stuff, because I've run myself out of room. Yeah, so just put the answers. You don't have to put all the work. Oh, positive 8, negative 8, I think. We'll go back and look at it. So you're going to put these greatest common factors back together, right? So 7n plus 3. And keep your one set of repeating factors, 5n plus 1. That all equals 0. So now our same process. We set this equal to 0. 7n plus 3 equals 0. And 5n plus 1 equals 0. How do I solve this equation? Subtract 3 from both sides. So I end up with 7n equals negative 3. And so what's n equal? Negative 3 over 7. Sometimes you will end up with fractions, especially if you have a two-step equation. What do I get when I have 5n plus 1 equals 0? Subtract 1 from both sides. So I've got 5n equals negative 1. And then n equals what? Negative 1 over 5, because you're going to divide by 5. Okay? Make sure you grab those answers. N equals negative 3 over 7, and n equals negative 1 over 5. Everybody good? Yeah. All right, let's look at number 2 then. Talk me through it. How do I start? What multiplies to 4 and adds to 5? Four and 1, absolutely. So when I put it back together, x squared plus 4x and x plus 4 equals 0. So what can I take out? And here I'm going to take out a 1, because you have to take out something. Okay, so we'll take out x out of the first one, and we'll just take out 1 out of the second, because you have to take out something. Because you're dividing. I like where your head is, though. You're thinking. And then x plus 4, right? All equals 0. Be so happy when I can actually write normally again. So x plus 1 equals 0. What's x equal? -1. Absolutely. And if x plus 4 equals 0, okay, so those are the answers for number 2. X equals -1 and x equals -4. If you put that into Desmos, and I'm just going to show you real quick. This is x squared plus 5x plus 4. X squared plus 5x plus 4 equals 0. We've got that -4 and -1. So you can also always put these into Desmos and see what you get. X equals -1 and x equals -4. You just type that equation in exactly the way you see it, and boom. Okay. All right, number 4. Does it have a greatest common factor? B. So if I take out a b, I end up with b plus 5 equals 0. So this is different. It still had the 2 factors, but this time it had the b and it didn't have the c. Right? So we still set these both equal to 0. B equals 0. So that's easy. And then b plus 5 equals 0. So what's b equal? -5. Okay, b equals 0 and b equals -5. There are 2 roots here. All right, last one. Can I take out a greatest common factor? It's always good to look. Is there a greatest common factor? 15 and 4, do they share anything? I don't think so. So what do I have to do with the 15 and the -4? Multiply them. What is 15 times -4? -60, absolutely. And then the positive 4 goes to the bottom. So what question do I ask myself? What multiplies to -60 and adds to +4? So what is the answer to that question? Do I need to make factor tree? 10 and 6. And the 6 does have to be negative because the 10 has to be positive. Fantastic. So then what do I put with the 15b squared? Mason, you all right? Oh my.
Pick it up. Yes, I'll go pick up the water.
We all good? You have lots of them. Are you sure you came in with 7? We'll look for them in a minute. Let's finish this last problem, and then we can let our Zoom friends go. So what goes with 15b squared? So plus 10b, and then minus 6b, and then what goes with the minus 6b? -4. And all of that equals 0 because we now have an equation, not just an expression. So what can I take out of the 15b squared? What can I take out of that? 10 or 5? Yes, from the 15b squared plus 10b, what can I take out? 5b, absolutely. So if I take out the 5b, I'm left with 3b plus 2. Just 2? And what can I take out of this? 2. What kind of 2 do I want to take out if I want to be left with 3b plus 2? Negative, absolutely. So always look to see what you want to get, because that'll help you remove whatever factor you need out of that second term. So if we put all that back together, we get 5b minus 2 and 3b plus 2. And then what's the next step that we just learned today? We do equal it to 0. So I'm going to take each of these terms one at a time and equal them to 0. So 5b minus 2 equals 0. What do I have to do there? Add 2 to both sides. So I get 5b equals 2. And then what? Do I have one more step to get the b by itself? What do I have to do? Divide by 5. I know. Fractions, we don't get very many things in geometry, right? Lily Mason just spilled his water everywhere, and now he's lost a ring. So as soon as we're done with this problem, we'll go help him find his ring. Lily's worried about you, Mason. We miss you. So then our last part, we're going to do 3b minus, I don't know why that looks like a 12. It should be a 2, right? Oh, because that's a plus. 3b plus 2 equals 0. So I subtract 2 from both sides, and I get 3b equals negative 2. And then divide by 3, and we get b equals negative 2 over 3, right? So you can definitely get fractions as solutions. Remember, solutions, zeros, and x-intercepts all refer to the exact same thing. Zeros, roots, and x-intercepts, all of the exact same thing. You can factor this using the X method, the X puzzles, or you can just put it into Desmos and then go look for the intercepts, right? So let's go back and look at the first one. So remember, all of these are self-checking, so you can go back and look at them. So if you need the answers, go to page 42, send that green thing to the back, and your answers are here. Notice that in the answer key, they put the solutions in these brackets. The brackets are different than parentheses. Parentheses would mean that they were ordered pairs. Brackets mean that they're solutions. So they're different. These squiggly brackets mean they're solutions. They're x-intercepts, they're zeros. Okay. And this one should not have that parenthesis there. So take out that parenthesis. I don't know why that's there. Questions, comments, concerns, worries? These are simplified. So these are as simplified as they need to be. Okay? So because there's, is there one that's not simplified? So that's what so let me say it one more time. Because these are not parentheses, this is not an ordered pair. This means 3 and 6. So when we come over to the graph, these are our solutions. So -4 and -1 were our solutions. So that's why it's written, which one was that? This one. -4 and -1. Our solutions, that's where it crosses the x-axis. This isn't parentheses, it's different than writing -1, oops, -4. These are parentheses. That means the ordered pair, -1, -4. And these mean solutions because they're squiggly brackets. So they're different. Okay, so the squiggly brackets just means that it crosses at -4 and -1. If I put this ordered pair in there, which is not part of the solution, that's just a point. -1, -4. Okay, that point. -1, -4. Does that make sense? Okay. There is some practice here if you are so inclined to practice double B7 and double B8. Again, this is algebra 1. Okay, double B1 and double B8. Tomorrow we'll do lesson 7, but instead of doing lesson 7 in the notebook, because I think the notebook is kind of dumb, we're going to do some bookets and we'll just play around with it and see how we do. Okay? The goal is to get out of class by 8 o'clock, and I think we've met our goal. So have a great day, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. And yeah, let me know if you've done any of those A skills